dude named Dave, and to my left, but he's my right hand man, Jorge. How's it going, man?
Doing great, Dave, man. Good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, same here, man. So let's go through the particulars, man. If you watch this on YouTube, you can go ahead and click on like and subscribe, click on the bell notification so you can get new episodes and don't gotta look for us. If you're on Spotify, click on follow. Also, if you check us out on the Zingo app, channel 250, Spanglish World, that's what we're affiliated with. Check us out there. And also, we'll talk a little bit later about some other, areas that we were actually on this weekend. I'll get into that in a second.
Sure.
But for this episode here, Jorge, once again, more boxing.
More boxing as always.
So let's get this thing on the way here. We're recording this on Super Bowl weekend here. And so I know everybody's got their Super Bowl parties, but you know what, though? We'll get to that in a second. But sad news this week in boxing.
Yeah, definitely sad news. Leon Spinks, man who successfully defeated Muhammad Ali in their first title fight, passed away.
Yes,
age of 67.
Yeah, he battled a lot of health ailments, a lot of issues, and passed away from prostate cancer. And he came from a family of a boxing family.
Pretty much.
His brother Michael Spinks, professional fighter, also a former champion, as well as son Corey Spinks, who's also the former undisputed welterweight champion. And I had some stuff from Obituary that a lot of boxing writers had pulled up, so I'll just read this off really fast for some of our boxing fans who may have heard about him but don't know much about him here. So he went 6-0-1 before he got the opportunity to fight Ali in 1978. And he got a split decision win on top against Ali. He was also Olympic gold medalist in the 76 games. So you saw him from being an Olympic gold medalist and then within 7 fights get the shot against Ali, get the split decision. But 7 months later, Ali bested him in a 15-round decision. And that was the last time that Leon Spinks held a title belt. So technically he was like a German fighter after that. He finished 26-17-3. And like I said, he had a lot of health ailments. So rest in peace to him. He was a good fighter. He gave a lot of good wars in there. He had some moments, so it's just sad to hear stuff like this.
Yeah, I mean, Leon Spinks at the time, he was kind of a lighter heavyweight, which kind of, in a way, he was kind of one of the front men for the cruiserweight division that ended up coming up because of that, right? So you had a lighter group of heavyweights that you wouldn't consider big heavyweights. So from that birthed up the cruiserweight division, and that's where he fought the remainder parts of his career there. I believe he won a title at cruiserweight as well. So
No. You talking about Michael or Leon?
Leon.
No, Leon only won the one title at heavyweight. Yeah. So he only won the title. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw he only won the title at heavyweight. His brother Michael was the light heavyweight champion. So Michael was actually considered one of the greatest light heavyweights of all time.
Yes.
And like I said, Leon also was inducted to the Hall of Fame in 2017. So, he's got it, he's received some of his roses, and get in there. And one thing about Corey Spinks, like I said, he was the undisputed welterweight champion and got a big, upset win against Zab Judah back in 2003. And we were talking before we started recording this. I was not a big fan of Corey Spinks' style. I respect every fighter that gets in the ring. But if you have a style that pushes you to sleep.
Corey Spinks was a boxer. We'll leave it at that. A boxer in the hit and don't get hit, but not exactly throwing a lot of punches to do any kind of hitting, right? So let's just say a typical fight for him would be one, if I had to look at punch stats, 1-0. That's it.
Right.
One punch, he landed it, and that was it. He didn't get hit, but he only threw like one punch and it landed them.
Exactly.
And the top with Leon Spinks, so he did fight for a cruiserweight title. He ended up losing that fight.
Okay.
So I knew he fought for a cruiserweight title. I thought he had won that fight. No, he lost that one.
Okay, yeah. So like I said, he bounced around. Like I said, he had a 26-17 record. So of course he fought for other titles, but he only won the one heavyweight title.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just sad, 67 years old. And the thing about it too is like he had more than one cancer. He died of prostate cancer, but he said he had like 2 or 3 different types of cancers in the system. So he was in pain in the last years of his life. And even then when he got inducted to the Hall of Fame, like you can tell, like he was in the wheelchair, he wasn't himself. So, it's kind of sad, but he's no longer in pain no more, the way I look at it. When you're going through that much and, it's a sad day, but at the same time though, he's not going through what he's going through before.
Exactly. There's no more suffering for the man. My condolences to the Spinks family that, Corey Spinks, Michael, your dad, your brother was a great fighter. Great fighter. The Spinks name is always going to be entrenched in boxing. I had the privilege to watch Corey for a lot of his career there. In a division that at the time
Yeah.
wasn't. I mean, welterweight division is it's my kind of division, right? A lot of our fighters that we probably watched go through our lifetime has been going through welterweight. So I mean, Corey Spinks, I mean, you fought who you fought at the time and what was there. You gave in middleweight, he gave Jermaine Taylor a tough fight to a split decision loss, I believe. So, I mean, Corey is he's his type. He's who he is. And boring fights, man. That's all I can say about it. Boring fights, but I respect the man's ability to put on a match and lace him up and give a fight and do the best he can to win a fight without taking any hits.
Yeah. So rest in peace, Leon Spinks. Good fighter. So I'm gonna go give him the one. I don't have the 10 bell, but
yeah, one bell is definitely what he needs.
I'll have that preloaded for next time here. Unfortunately, if that happens. So yeah. So rest in peace, Leon Spinks. Next item that we want to talk about in the show here, man, this is like the bad news episode, So I'm gonna go to the shorter bad news here. Tank Davis had a hand injury this past week sparring, actually on February 3rd. So he tweeted out that hurt his hand. So boom, he shut it down. So there was no other news that they gave about his hand injury. He just basically said that he's no longer sparring. And if we know Floyd Mayweather and how he conducts his career with Leonard Ellerbe running Mayweather Promotions, we probably won't see Tank Davis at the earliest July. If no, so let's say it's just, you heard it and it just needs rest. We'll be lucky if we see him in July.
My bet would be September. I think
that sounds good too.
I think he gets through spring and summer, not just on recovery, but doing some light sparring to test out the hand. Don't know the degree of the injury. They're definitely keeping that very tight, so it's quite possible he might have something that might require just 3 weeks in a cast and some light duty, light duty training before doing some light duty sparring, or it might be an injury that requires surgery. Yeah. They're definitely keeping it under wraps, and for good reason, right? You don't want to expose the degree of the injury to potential opponents that are high-profile opponents that want to at least have an idea when you're coming back or not, right? You want to basically set it at your timetable, not at some promotional, not some next level opponent promotional timetable where they're pushing for that fight sooner than when you're ready for it, right? In other words, Floyd's going to say you're ready when I say you're ready, not when you think you're ready.
Right. So with that, we know that there's not going to be no Gervonta Davis, Ryan Garcia talk now.
No, that's definitely chirps, just chirping. No more chirping there, though. Like I said, I think you'll hear them chirping at each other again when and if somebody on the Davis camp decides to say, hey, it's time to start that chirping again and start building up that fight again.
And Davis was a little bit pissed off anyway. We've talked about extensively with Ryan Garcia trying to have a fight with Manny Pacquiao, and we don't know if that fight's actually going to go through now. But Tank Davis was upset. He went on Twitter saying, "I'm on to the next." Like you called me out, and then you want to go chase this dude, but then you add this here. So I literally see Tank Davis probably to come back doing a mandatory defense. You hurt your hand. You want to make sure that hand is good before you take on any major challengers. So I literally see him, like, I wouldn't be surprised. September, that could happen. And then that could be his last fight of the year. He may fight one more time in the year. We don't know how bad the injury is. Hopefully he doesn't need surgery, but any talks of Gervonta Davis against Ryan Garcia or even Teofimo Lopez or any of the top guys, I mean, not even Lomachenko is not even in the picture right now, technically, so like I said, that just hurts because we were geeked up about some of these fights, and we even did a little preview of 130, 35, and now we just took one guy out of the picture for almost like a half year, possibly, maybe more, who knows. And then with Ryan Garcia all over the place, we went from here to down to here.
Yeah, and then now a couple things fall into place here that just kind of sucks, right? So when you lose that item off the list of fighters there that were for potential good fights for the year, basically it almost unfortunately legitimizes some of the conversations that Garcia is having with Pacquiao, which
I hate to go there, but
it sucks.
It kind of, unless he has like does an interim bout, since he just got the WBC belt. He does like an interim bout. or he goes against Devin Haney, which we know that's not going to happen because he is the interim technically to Devin Haney's belt to Teofimo. We'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that in a bit. There.
Yeah, but
There's some funny
let me
banter
stop there because I was about to get myself confused for a second.
No, I get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah,
there's a part of the story we need to talk to.
Yeah. But like you said, now it almost kind of makes sense if they revisit those talks for Garcia and Manny Pacquiao.
I at this point I still want it to be not about those two. I hope that I mean they'll probably do it. Maybe Garcia will do it just to keep his name interesting at the moment while Davis and conspiracy theory says Davis got mad at the whole Garcia Pacquiao conversation, punched the wall. That's just me. Conspiracy theorist in me says he got pissed about that, punched the wall. That's how he heard that. Sparring? No, you weren't sparring. You got pissed. All right, and that's okay. That's okay.
Why are you hating, man?
I'm not hating. I'm not hating. Now I'm more annoyed that if that, believe me, the conspiracy theorist in me says, Davis, if you did that, you pissed me off because I was hoping you get the fight with Garcia. But it's okay. It's okay.
Man,
I almost got you off the
chair. Guys heard sparring all the time.
You hear that, man? I just it's a little conspiracy theory, and then David ready to fall off the chair. It's a long drop too, my friend.
Okay, here comes the short jokes. I was waiting. When the episode will be with the short jokes.
All right, we'll leave it alone.
People, you see my voice, you see my face here. This is what Jorge does with the short jokes.
Oh no! Hey, I gave you a 10-episode reprieve, and I said, okay, now it's coming. Episode 11, here they come. No, but back to the main story though. But so at this point, any legitimate talks Garcia has with say Haney or Lopez moving forward or some mandatory, I'd rather see that at this point. Like I said about Garcia many times in his career, take care of you. The big fights are coming. They're going to come. Don't be in a rush to get them. They'll get there.
Yeah. So let's take Tank out of the equation.
Sure.
Throw him to the back seat.
Yep.
We'll house you in the summertime, hopefully, Tank.
Yep. See you at the end. See you during the summer or in September, buddy.
Yeah. Dang it. That's.
But get better though. Get better. Yeah. Take care of yourself. Take care of that hand. Mm-hmm. Don't punch any more walls or sparring partners that hard. And do some light sparring, man. You'll be all right.
On to the next. More bad news. More what's the word I want to use? I want to say bad or not comforting, but if you're a boxing fan and you just plan on thinking about going to the International Boxing Hall of Fame this summer, canceled again, guys. So last year was canceled because we were in the heart of COVID a few months in. We're still in COVID season, so it's canceled again. So now the Hall of Fame is being moved to 2022. So the idea is that all the recipients who were on the 2020 class, the 2021 class, and then the new 2022 class when the ballots come out, probably at the end of this year before they put them out for next year, will all go on one weekend for 2022 in the summertime, barring we're still not locked down again. Could you imagine we're still locked down next year?
No. It's already bad enough this year.
Oh boy. But yeah, so that's the situation now, the Hall of Fame. So I'm gonna go over the 2020 class for you and the 2021 class, and then we'll discuss this a little bit of detail here. So the 2020 class that was supposed to go in last year was Bernard Hopkins, Juan Manuel Marquez, Shane Mosley, Frank Ernie, Patty Ryan, Barbara Butrick, Christy Martin, and Lucia Ricker. 2021 was Vladimir Klitschko, Floyd Mayweather, Andre Ward, Layla Ali, Ann Wolf, Marion Tremuller, Jackie Tonawanda, and Davey Moore. And then, of course, we don't have the ballot yet for 2022, but, but just knowing just those 2 years and then who's going to be on the ballot for 2022, that is going to be probably the biggest Hall of Fame induction ceremony in history.
It'll be a big weekend, a big spectacular weekend. I could see that being done like on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday schedule, Friday, Saturday, Sunday schedule, how they want to do it. But
what I would read though, they said that, the 2020 class will go like on either like a Thursday, the 21 like on a Friday, and then the 2022 on Saturday. Because normally they'll do it like on a weekend just for the one class, but they'll do it. It'll be one big bonanza weekend basically. So just to have all those people there, like that's people in our, like most of these are in our current generation. We look at Bernard Hopkins, Marquez, Shane Mosley, Vlad Klitschko, Floyd Mayweather, Andre Ward, like those were the top guys that we watched for like the last 10 plus years, 10, 15 years to get in. And then like in 2022, who's also on the ballot that we were talking, I think who might get in, like Miguel Cotto.
Yeah.
Like he was on the the cutting floor, but I think it was between him and Andre Ward. And Andre Ward being undefeated, two-division champion, Olympic gold medalist, never lost since he was 14 years old. He made the cut over Cotto. And also Tim Bradley. I see those two headlining 2022 right now. So, next year, if you're a boxing nerd and you want to see your greats, that's going to be a good ticket to go to.
Oh, that's probably going to be the best ticket in town by a mile, I think, because it's going to be, it's probably going to be a nice week to take off of work and enjoy the weekend. That's a nice, like 9 days you're going to want to be there just to kind of be there for any pre-parties before then, right? Then the actual inductions on the Thursday, Friday, Saturday setup. By going into Sundays, it'll be, there'll probably be some good panels there from the Boxing Writers Association, depending on who's going to be there talking and stuff. So you're going to see some good journalists there who've been following the sport for a long time. Won't be surprised to see like Max Kellerman, Jim Lampley. You're going to find some greats there.
Oh, you're going to see Hall of Famers from the past too as well. They always come back. That's their thing. They're boxers. They watch other fighters. So you're going to see the past guys. You're going to see current guys who may be on the bubble, like we talk about Cotto or Bradley or anybody else who might be on the fringe who want to get in. Like boxers respect each other. Like when we went to a fight years ago, and me going to Vegas for fights too as well. They all hang out in Carnegie. It's like one big family reunion.
Yeah, it's a big fraternity. Boxing is,
because they once you've been in the ring with somebody, there's that respect factor. You can aid somebody, but when you taste someone else's punch and you guys came out of there alive, you hear a lot of times like most guys respect are more friends after they fight each other and they knocked each other's heads off than they were beforehand. Because once you've been in the ring and fought somebody and you went through them wars. And you couldn't kill him, he couldn't kill you.
Yep.
Hey, you want that man in your corner if something goes down, then at the end of the day.
Exactly.
That foxhole. What I wanted to ask you, I was looking at the list of who made the Hall of Fame these last 2 years. 2 names stuck out that I wish we had fought. Layla Ali against Ann Wolf.
I know we talked about that in our pre-meeting and stuff. That is an interesting take because I respect Ann Wolf as a trainer. That was probably more where I paid attention to her career more than her boxing career, and then Layla Ali was more of the name in the boxing career and stuff. But Ann Wolf was a great trainer for James Kirkland, and definitely was the only trainer to get his mind right for a fight. So that tells you all you need to know about her capacity to get a fighter to basically understand what it is that she's trying to get done. Right, what she's trying to get accomplished in the training camp and in the ring and stuff. So I've always had a big respect for Ann Wolf. But I know from a boxing perspective, you had a bigger take on why you wanted to see that fight. So I'm going to let you indulge on that.
Because Layla ducked her.
Yeah.
Of course, women's boxing doesn't have the money, the financial, windfall that goes on like in men's fighting, unfortunately. But Layla was the face, and she was able to make a good living for herself by being the daughter of Muhammad Ali and being undefeated. I believe she was 24-0, and she had a very luxurious career. The fact that she made the Hall of Fame, and she moved the sport of women's boxing. But during that same time, Ann Wolf was fighting in that same weight class or weight class right around her. It was nothing more than a catch weight or someone coming up or someone coming down. It wasn't like you had to gain 20 pounds to do this fight. It was literally 6-7 pounds max, walking around weight, and the one fight that Ann Wolf had when she knocked out that tall woman and almost took her head off and she had her eyes rolling back of her head like a freaking pinball machine. No one wanted Ann Wolf smoke. As much as she was a great trainer, dudes didn't want to fight her. Jorge, if you saw Ann Wolf in the dark alley, would you fight her right now today?
I kind of probably running to her like, hey, can you save me for the night?
I'm running the opposite way. You run to her, she gonna give you that work regardless.
No, I'm not here to fight you. I'm here to no, you coming with me.
I'm running.
No, you're gonna help me. You're gonna escort me out that alley.
No, I'm running. She's the dark alley agent. She's the one coming to get you.
Oh, that's different.
That's what I'm saying. No, you walk in the dark alley and do you fight or do you run? Even today, 2021, Ann Wolf.
I ain't running. I don't give a shit.
Man, I ain't gonna fight.
I ain't giving a shit.
Ann Wolf is.
I don't care.
I don't care. I'm just here. Ann Wolf will fuck me up.
She'll fuck me up, but I ain't running. Fuck it.
I'm running. You know what though? We don't need another hero. You hear that song? We don't need another hero. I ain't that dude. My name may be that dude, but I ain't that dude. Yeah.
Karaoke night for you, my friend.
Hey, thank you. Let me get back to Ann Wolf here.
Ann Wolf, man. We're off the rails, man.
Yeah. Layla ducked her.
Yeah, I believe you.
She knew she was there's fighters out there that every fighter knows, men or women, know that you don't want that smoke. I mean, everybody will get in the ring. They know that if push come to shove, they will fight. But if they had a choice, sometimes it's just no. And that's what was Ann Wolf. There was no money for it. And them hands of stone, she was like, no.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
You got quiet on me here.
I'm still not running though. You may run. I'm not running down there.
I'm running. I don't care, man. Hey. You know what? Getting your ass whooped is overrated.
I'm not saying getting your ass was overrated. I'm just like, I ain't running. Fuck it.
I'm running. And I'm telling y'all, Google, YouTube, and Wolf fight. When you see her fight, y'all tell me if y'all running or not. I'm running. I don't care. Because you know what, though? My face stays shiny for another day.
So the way I look at it this way, if it's a dark alley, I like my chances that I don't recognize it's Dan Wolf in the first place, right? So most likely, I'm probably going to fight until I realize it's Dan Wolf. Now, will I run at that point? No, it's already too late. I already threw a punch or two, so I got to stay there and take it.
Let's bring this back here. If we do go next year, I hope I see her. I'm gonna tell her that too.
Oh yeah, I will too.
I will have the live interview, and I will say I will bring this footage up. I will bring the clip. If we go, I'm gonna bring the clip. And I'm just like, I respect you so much. I need you to watch this. Okay,
you would put me on an island by myself. Now.
Oh yeah, you deserve it.
Oh no. But and like I said, if I would keep fighting until I recognize it's you. But then it's no choice at that point. I have to keep going.
Okay. One thing that you didn't know before we did this show here, and a lot of people don't know this either. The Hall of Fame for boxing, you get in after 5 years.
Typically, it was 5 years for a long stretch
after your last fight.
Yep.
So you really don't have to file retirement papers. So if you fought your last fight, let's say February 1st, the clock ticks here. You know, like February 1st, 2021, it used to be then it'll be February 1st, 2026.
Mm-hmm.
But a couple of years ago, they changed it now. So the rule is 3 years.
Yep.
That's why for the current class of 2021, you see Floyd Mayweather on here because his last fight was Conor McGregor in August 2017.
Yep.
Same thing with Andre Ward. His last fight was the rematch against Sergey Kovalev at the end of 2017 as well when he retired. So you literally had people jump the front of the line to get in the Hall of Fame that guys who are maybe don't have the much hype fanfare, don't have the biggest names, got pushed back. Same thing with Vladimir Klitschko. I didn't look at the last year he fought, but I believe his last fight was against Anthony Joshua.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if it was 2016 or 2017.
2016.
So that rule still applies. And so it's only 4 years. So when the voting would occur, so he would still be on the 5 years. So literally the top three guys who in any year, they'll be their first ballot Hall of Famers regardless. So I don't want anybody to think that I don't think that Floyd Mayweather should not get in or Ward should not get in or Klitschko get in. They're first ballot no matter what year they're in and whoever's on the ballot. It's just the fact that they push other guys off because they changed the time scale from 5 to 3.
Yep. No, and exactly with that. And these were things that we were taking a look at in our pre-meeting before we got into the recording here. There were definitely guys that got snubbed. There were definitely guys, a long list of fighters that are still on the ballot list, but fighters that, I mean, some prolific names that I think are getting snubbed right now. Probably the first one off the top of the list I would go to is Carl Froch.
Carl Froch, I say the number 2 super middleweight in the world behind Andre Ward during his time.
Yeah, no, beat a game Jermaine Taylor at super middleweight. Yep. I mean, and at that fight, Jermaine Taylor was, by all accounts, halfway through the fight, was pretty well, I won't say comfortably ahead, but it looked like he was in control of the fight. At the very least, it was 3-3, maybe 4-2 for Taylor. And so Froch, he was never a first half fighter. He was a second half fighter.
Yeah.
And he sat on his punches and he gave Taylor the work, knocked him out.
His only loss, like
to Ward.
Like he went to the Super 6 and that was his only loss. Miguel Kessler, you know, he got the victories over Kessler. Like I said, Jermaine Taylor. I forgot who else he went through the Super 6, but it was the who's who of people at 168. And then eventually, you know, he had a lot of big fights in the UK. I mean, you take away the 5 to 3 year marker and you look at the list of guys here and you look at his accomplishments during this time period. And, you know, people in America may not recognize him, but the UK matters. And he fought in big events, over 80,000 in Wembley Stadium.
Yeah.
You know, multiple times holding the belt. He is definitely, you take away these guys here who are superstars, a first ballot Hall of Famer if you don't change the rules.
Yeah, and I believe he fought Jermaine Taylor in the States. I believe he came stateside for that Jermaine Tailor fight, and I believe against Ward as well.
I believe if I might have to look this back up again. During the Super 6, they split up because it was half UK or European fighters, half American fighters.
Yeah.
So they did the sites where that some of the sites were in America, some of the sites were in the UK.
Yeah.
So yes, I don't remember which fights were, but I believe you're right on that fight though.
Yeah, so to me, I mean, that's the number one guy. I mean, I have a couple fighters. I got about 6 fighters who I think are on the snub list right now that are really getting affected by the 3-year marker. And you know, it's like I said, it was something that, you know, we're ready to talk about the the Hall of Fame being delayed and stuff. But when you actually think about the snub list, it's actually a pretty impressive list.
Yeah.
The second guy on my list, Iron Boy Ivan Calderon.
Calderon was a damn good fighter.
Puerto Rican fighter. I think he only lost twice, I believe, but he was undisputed in flyweight for a long time.
One of the best flyweights ever.
Reminds you of Pernell Whitaker. Never had the punching power to knock at anybody, but for 12 rounds, I mean, it was basically every time anybody you missed a punch, you missed it by a lot. It wasn't like by inches, you missed by foot.
Right.
I mean, he was already making 3 steps already before you threw that punch. He was that fast.
Yeah, he was very, very. I love watching his fights, man. I mean, he was for, you know, when you're at those smaller weight classes and being action packed, he was, but didn't have the knockout power and still had you at the foot of your seat. Man, like I said, he's pushed back. Like he's eventually going to get into the Hall. It's just the fact that when you make this kind of change for, you know, to shorten the time scale, who's actually available, guys like him who don't have the big name, and especially fighting that strawweight, they kind of get left behind and thrown on the ballot for like 4 or 5 years, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, and that's the same because to me, some of those lighter weight fighters, unless you have knockout power, you kind of forget about the boxing skill that you can have at that weight class. And there's some really damn good fighters there. Yeah. So I mean, I'm saying Calderon because I remember, I mean, he was like 36, 37-0 before he got his first loss. I mean, in every fight, it was good luck. Good luck if you can hit him. Because he was, and not only that, he had a chin. I can't remember the fight that he got knocked on, I believe, once or twice, but he took it. The thing is that he was so far ahead in points, those 10-8 rounds that he lost, it made no damn difference. He already had won 5-6 in a row by that time that knockdown came into play. Yeah. So yeah, not only was he hard to hit, if he hit him, he had a chin.
Yeah,
and he could take it. So so to me, Calderon's on that list. The other guy that's on that list is Diego Corrales. Yeah. That guy was a great fighter.
He's the reason that Floyd Mayweather's on the map.
Yep.
When I say reason, Floyd had throughout his illustrious career, that was Floyd's best fight. But even though Corrales lost that fight, Corrales was a great fighter. His battles with Castillo, oh my God, it's one of the greatest fights of all time.
Yeah.
You know, but multiple division belt holder. I mean, at the time before he moved out to 135 and came back to fight Floyd at 130, it was 1A and 1B who was the best guy at 130. Yep. You didn't know until they fought, but I'm not going to take anything away from Floyd. It was perfect timing for him. He would have won no matter if it was at 135. It was a situation where that he couldn't make 130. He went to 135, but that was the biggest money fight. And he went back down to 130. And I just felt that Floyd would have just destroyed him at 135. But you know, that happens. But you take away that fight, he had wars, he had fights, he gave the fans what you wanted. And for him to be on the ballot as long as he has and not get in yet, he's going to get in. But guys like him is going, like I said, with Iron Boy, he's going to get pushed back a few more years. I don't see him getting in next year. Yeah. You know, if you look at the ballot, who's going to be up, you know, we're going to go through a few of these names here. Like, we literally were not going to see him get in for another couple more years if he's lucky.
Yeah, I mean, this was a great example where, you know, Floyd probably does. If you go to the 5-year standard that what it was for a long time, Floyd wouldn't be getting in this year. It'd most likely be
2022.
Yeah, it'd be most likely Floyd in 2022, and Cotto would be going in right now in 2021. And to me, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who gets in first and stuff, but there is a backlog of fighters that are on the ballot for many years and stuff.
Let me throw another name. Ricky Hatton's on the ballot.
Ricky Hatton.
We didn't talk about him. I just had to look over.
We just missed him. Yeah.
We missed him. Ricky Hatton, 2-division champion, was the man at 140. His only mate, like he's lost 3 times his career. The last loss, his career was done. But the 2 losses was to Manny and Floyd.
Yep.
He was literally during that 140, 147. I mean, there was a disputed fight that I thought he should have lost a few fights before the Manny Pacquiao fight. I can't remember the fighter. I'll pull it up another time. I hate that I did that. But he, Hall of Fame career. Like when he fought Floyd, he brought the whole UK to Vegas.
It's still,
you don't see that too often with fighters, where that you bring a whole country to the fight.
to this day, that is still probably one of my favorite fights to watch of all time. Not because of the fighters, but because of the atmosphere.
I was gonna say the atmosphere.
The atmosphere
Ooh.
was legit. Like if you actually had to just like not hear the fight, watch the fight, but just hear the background, I thought that was excellent.
I didn't know, Jorge, that you could bring drums and trumpets into the MGM Grand Stadium for a boxing fight. All of Ricky Hatton's fans had drums, snare drums, bass drums singing, "Oh, there's only one Ricky Hatton."
Yeah.
Like for the whole, even when he got knocked out, they were screaming, "There's only one Ricky Hatton." I was like, wow, these are some diehard fans. You still singing this song, he's knocked out.
Yeah, no, it's one of the rare times that I thought in boxing it sounded like a Roman Coliseum fight.
That is a good example.
Like if I was listening to Gladiators and stuff, shout out to Spartacus, on Stars and stuff. Missed that show.
Oh, that's a great show.
But that's about as close as it gets to, I thought, Roman old Coliseum and Gladiators fighting. I thought it was excellent.
You know why? It wasn't Hollywood, except for the front rows. Because if you go to a major pay-per-view fight, Floyd Mayweather, you're gonna see Mariah Carey in the front row. You're gonna see nowadays like the Dave Chappelle's, the Nick Cannons. But when that Ricky Hatton fight happened, he brought the common folk.
Yeah.
The whole upper levels of the UK, Britain, where it didn't matter who you were. Cats would probably just make $30,000-$40,000 a year, scrapped up their pennies and flew across the pond and showed their support, knowing their man was going to get knocked out.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's only two types of fights that I am always most intrigued about, where the atmosphere is huge. Any Puerto Rican Mexican fight, and anytime you can bring the UK to the States and you're allowed to bring equipment in.
Mm-hmm.
That to me, that's great. I
was shocked that they brought the whole marching band.
Yeah, no, I mean that's one thing. It's interesting to watch a UK fight in Wembley Stadium. Those fights are huge. That's always got me intrigued. So at some point, I'm gonna make Wembley Stadium.
We're gonna
make a trip over there. I want to see a fight
at
Wembley Stadium.
As Aldis clears up with COVID, and then we're back to normal again. We're gonna find those fights to go across the pond, and we're gonna bring our fans.
Well, any fight, I would say this: European fighters don't get a lot of respect out here in the States and stuff. Watch any fight in Wembley Stadium against two fighters that have a good following. That's a great atmosphere to watch a fight, right? And if they're allowed to bring that atmosphere to a Vegas fight, to me, you have to allow it. You have to allow it to a certain extent, because to me, that just brings the best of both worlds. And in Puerto Rico, Mexico, that's just, no matter whoever's the headliner on that ticket, it doesn't matter. It's always going to be a good fight. Usually you get the right crowd. If it's at the right location or at the right time of the year, whether it's May, June, or September, you're going to get a great atmosphere. So to me, those are the two type of atmospheres you look for in boxing.
Okay. Let me name off a few other names before we move on from this subject here. So there's a few other names here that I was looking at. Tim Bradley, like I mentioned. So,
yep, Tim Bradley.
So I think that he has a strong consideration for 2022.
2022, him and Cotto, I think, get in 2022.
Especially if him being an ESPN, being a commentator, so he's staying in front of the cameras, in front of the limelight, basically. So you're seeing him, so it makes it easier to vote for him too as well. Like the other guys you don't see. Yes. That kind of hurts their case when they're not as popular. They maybe didn't have the mouthpiece, maybe it wasn't as vocal, maybe didn't have that personality. Tim Bradley is that guy, so he's going to be in the strong running for next year, no later than 2023.
Exactly. I mean, here's a couple of things here. So Joel Casamayor.
Yeah, that was next. Joel Casamayor. I just mentioned him when he fought what's his name? Corrales.
Corrales, yeah.
Yes. So yeah, they had battles.
Michael Moore, heavyweight fighter.
Thank you, Michael Moore, one of the better light heavyweights of all time, and was
James Toney,
and was the undisputed heavyweight champion. James Toney, not a first ballot Hall of Famer, only because of the steroids.
Yeah,
that's my only issue with James Toney. If James Toney never got popped, and he got, I don't know how long. The one thing is when you get popped, it's the first time he got caught. So we don't know how long he's been using. We know that he got caught, right? But he got caught at heavyweight.
Yeah,
and he never was disciplined.
Not appropriately, not long enough the way you're supposed to do with other fighters.
Never. Like the thing about James Toney is he arguably in his prime, we would put him as one of the greatest fighters of all time.
Yeah.
His run in middleweight up to cruiserweight, his only problem was his discipline. If he just had half the discipline of Roy Jones, he lost to Roy Jones, or if he even had a quarter of the discipline of Floyd Mayweather, he would have been on the ballot years ago.
Yeah.
That just bothers me. He's such a great fighter.
There's a reason why he's on there for a long time and stuff, and it bothers me.
You got to wait it out. He's going to get in, but
here's the thing. Unfortunately, I think some of these guys are going to get in on a down year on the ballot and stuff, and they're going to be like, "Well, who do you vote for?" And who's probably fringe on the list and probably hasn't been covered on there, probably Malignaggi, man.
I don't see him.
I don't. I think.
You know what? I could see him in 15 years as a combination contributor. His boxing career along with his commentating.
Exactly, and that's the reason why. Not so much his boxing career. I'll say this:
it's a combination because it's all going to be together because it's all boxing.
I will say this, and to me, his greatest fight, even though it was a loss, Miguel Cotto. He fought on a small ass ring against Miguel Cotto at 140.
That was a good fight.
And he basically took it for 12 rounds.
And you know what, though? Turn the sound off. If you're a biased person, you could talk yourself into scoring that for Malignaggi at split decision. I'm not saying he won. I'm saying turn the volume off. You could. There's some rounds where you can say that. I believe Cotto won, but I'm saying like if you were in the stadium and the crowd kind of swayed you a certain way, I'm saying that's how good a fight it was and it was close. I'm saying Cotto won, but I'm saying Malignaggi gave him a hell of a fight.
Malignaggi gave him a hell of a fight, but he took a beating. He did. It's one of those rings where for a no punching power fighter like Malignaggi, you need a bigger ring. If there was a bigger ring, Malignaggi might have a good chance of winning that fight against Cotto at the time. Now, Cotto was already adept at already cutting the ring off and stuff, so it would have been close enough of a fight, but I still think, the smaller ring did him no favors.
Oh, no.
And he stayed in the pocket when he didn't have to be. The ring forced him to stay in the pocket. He had no choice.
If you're a boxer with no punching power and you're not in the regular, like the nice size 20 by 20 ring, and you're going against a puncher, cancel Christmas because you got no ring, you got no room to run to establish your jab and your distance.
Exactly.
And so I don't know if that was like an 18 or 18 ring or whatever it was. That was a smaller one, but that's what happens when you're in the A side and you're Cotto. Be like, you know what? If I give this dude a 20 by 20 ring, he gonna jab me to death all night for 12 rounds. Now we need to shrink that a little bit here.
Yeah, no. Then there was a couple fights. There was the fight that he got robbed on in San Antonio. We talked about this a couple times. I don't know why I forget this name when I remembered it last time. But anyways, he fought the guy twice. He got robbed the first time, won the second one. Mm-hmm. And then the fight with Danny Garcia, I think was his last title fight. Yeah. And that was it. But at that time, his was already in between fights and commentary. I think he gets in because of his commentary. But at the end of the day, at a game Cotto and his prime Cotto, to stay in the ring with him, I mean, to me, you're a Hall of Famer right there. Just for that, man.
I got a name on the ballot that bothers me. He's not in. I can see why he's not in. But Meldrick Taylor.
Yeah, that man needs to get in there. I'm with you on that.
There's so many names that we watch and grew up. Like, I remember being a shorty watching Meldrick Taylor. He's one of those guys that fell in the cracks and just had bad luck.
Yeah.
So I see a name like that. Fernando Vargas. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
But fringe, depending on how long time goes by and people start remember his quick, fast rise, so that, I mean, I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, but some people may view him because of how fast his success was.
His fast success would be due to his promotional company putting him in there a lot earlier than he needs to. But the fights that he ended up fighting, though, those are legendary fights. Trinidad, De La Hoya, Icorte. Mm-hmm. He fought some really, really good fighters way too early in his career. Basically, he's the template for Ryan Garcia that he shouldn't be following. I said it before, but I'll say it right now. Ryan Garcia, do not follow that man's template. And I think that was a source. I think kind of sucks for Vargas because to me, I think Vargas, if he was managed correctly at the time and not brought up so fast to take on those fights, I think would have had a longer lasting career that would have eventually been a Hall of Fame career.
Yeah, so we're going to tie up this conversation here. There's a lot of names on here. I'm just going to read off. We're not going to discuss them. I'm just going to read off a few more names that probably are Hall of Fame worthy. That's not in yet, like Chris Eubank. His son fights right now, Junior also, but Chris Eubank's on the list. We mentioned Carl Froch. Gennaro Hernandez.
Gennaro Hernandez.
Gave Floyd won his first title against him, and Floyd, based so much of his career set on him. He actually paid for his funeral when he passed away a few years ago. Floyd Mayweather did. That's how much respect he had for him after his fighting career is over. So he's on the list. We mentioned Michael Moore. Antonio Tarver's on the list. Now, I think he needs to get pushed back. He's fringe, and then it makes it even lower because of steroids as well. He got popped at the end of his career again. Like guys who are older And they don't have that pop anymore. We always like say same thing with James Toney at the end of their career, and they're using some stuff here. So I don't care if the first time you get caught, don't know when you used it, but if you get caught,
you get pushed back a
you
little.
get pushed back. If you're a first ballot Hall of Famer, you get popped. I think you're a third ballot. I don't think you're second. You lose a few years after that.
Yeah.
And then on top of that too, I don't know if he's really truly a Hall of Famer. You can't base your career off one big win. Like light heavyweight was not strong, and his big win was only Roy Jones. So it's kind of hard weighing him in there. You know what I'm saying? So he's on the list. We mentioned James Toney.
Is Chad Dawson on the list?
No, he's not even been added on.
Yeah, so he hasn't been added.
So in a sense, you can say that Chad Dawson and Tarver are the same. It's the fact that Tarver has the big win against Roy Jones. If you can try to compare careers,
yeah.
I mean, so that's why I look at it right now. But he's on the list too.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of guys here, but what we mentioned at the top here, that 5-year change to 3, I don't like. I think that guys need to sit out longer, only because in boxing, guys take a little bit more time off, especially when you become a champion. You're one of the top guys. You fight once or twice a year. So easily a guy who could take a whole year off and your clock's already ticking. You can like, hey, I have a bad injury. I'll take these few years off, get in the Hall of Fame, and then come back and I can just build my resume saying the Hall of Famer. And I don't like that. The NFL Hall of Fame, Basketball Hall of Fame, they have so many years you got to wait to get in. Same thing should be for boxing.
I agree on that one. At the end of the day, you're always going to have certain years, what writers would consider a down year for the Hall of Fame and stuff. It doesn't matter. You usually have at least one good name that you say, okay, for sure. And then maybe the rest they're all on the fringe and stuff. And that's fine. I think that's fine. That should be the Hall of Fame should not always be a spectacular event, and it shouldn't be based on recency bias. So that's why I'm not a fan of the 3-year difference, because at the very least, you're definitely using a lot of recency bias to make the decision for you on who you want in the Hall of Fame.
They're doing that to bring people. If you're doing, like I said, recency bias, you add these people in here because they may think it's kind of stale. I remember a few years ago, the Hall of Fame, they couldn't get the people. Like, it was really a down year. So it's like, hey, how do we make the Hall of Fame better, make it more fan friendly, bring people in? Well, we got to get the people who've been watching recently. Of course, these guys did deserve it from 10 years ago, but no one knows who they are from the casual fan. Everybody knows Floyd Mayweather. Yeah. Everybody knows Andre Ward on ESPN every week, calling the fights, and on Max on Boxing with Max Kellerman. Eventually we're going to see Cotto. He just fought a few years ago. We see Tim Bradley. He's going to get in next year too. We see him all the time on ESPN. Recency bias. So you're right on that. It just sucks for the guys who deserve to be in there, who fought hella careers, and they're still waiting for their phone call.
And here's ultimately what's going to end up happening, right? So you're using that 3-year difference right now to get some of these guys in there a little bit sooner than you want to. And guess what? At some point, you're going to get a bad year. In fact, what's going to end up happening is, by doing this, you've actually brought up all the recency stuff quicker. And guess what's going to happen in about 5 years, 6 years from now? That 5th, 6th, 7th year, like from now span, you're going to have probably good 2-3 straight down years in a row where I guess all that's going to get in are pretty close to fringe guys until you go through a run where you see Canelo get in finally and stuff. Mm-hmm. But you're going to get about 2-3 years where it's going to be like, it's not going to be that good.
Yeah.
And that's where I would have said, leave it at 5 years, you space it out and stuff. Floyd would get in, probably next year, right?
Floyd would be 2022.
It'd be 2022. So Floyd would have got in next year. Big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Big deal, right? And now you're saving room for some of these other guys. So now you're going to have at least, maybe, like I said, every year should have at least one featured guy that is the main feature of that Hall of Fame card, right? And then everything else is, if you want to call them fringe fighters, fine. But now you're going to get a couple down years. It's going to happen. And that's why I'm not a fan of it. So I would hope they actually change that back to 5.
No, they just changed it.
But if it is 2 years ago to 3 years, I don't like it. I think it's a bad idea.
So let's change gears here as we're gonna close out the show here. Our main man, Teofimo Lopez, is talking hella. He's on the warpath. You know what? Give this man a few belts and give this man a platform, and he's putting everybody on notice now. He's letting everybody know I'm the man, and y'all talking ish. But I'm the one that's going to talk ish. I'm going to put everybody on game.
So here's the main article here, and we'll take it from Bad Left Hook here, because this is where.
And before you start here, if anybody's been watching all these shows here, this clears up a lot of confusion that I had. I mentioned something on this, and now it's cleared up for me completely if we believe what Lopez is saying here.
So basically, the WBC has got a couple belts, and sometimes, unfortunately, they're the same for the same belt. Right? So the same sanctioning organization would have the same belt for a couple different. We call it a world title belt, franchise belt, an interim belt. I think there's even one division was a diamond belt.
Yes.
So
Floyd had multiple diamond belts.
So it's not something that I am a fan of, and we'll leave it at that when it comes to that description of those belts. With that said, Teofimo had some fun at the expense of Devin Haney.
Man, I feel sorry for Devin Haney right now. The shots keep coming, man.
So basically, Lopez basically went off and showed off the certification of the WBC franchise belt, right? And basically he's telling Devin that, hey, look, I have certifications here for two different WBC belts. I have a certificate of authenticity for the franchise belt and then the regular belt. So in some quote unquote terms here, basically says, I don't know what kind of champion you are. You're an email champion, a Yahoo champion, or a Gmail champion, but you ain't the champion. You ain't the WBC champion. We don't know what the hell you got over there.
Oh boy.
So Lopez, I think right now is angling to get into a fight. I think to clear things up with the WBC belts, nothing would make me happier for him to get in the ring with Devin Haney and just kind of put an end to that discussion of the WBC belts, all that confusion of what that is. I like to get things back to simpler terms where, WBC, I get why, and I'll leave it at that, but let's get back to one belt. I'm happy with one belt.
Now, let's backtrack for my correction here when I got it wrong. Well, half wrong because of communication. This all started with Lomachenko was supposed to fight Haney because he was the mandatory. And this was all during the discussions when Lomachenko was supposed to fight Lopez. And of course, if he got stripped, then you wouldn't have this undisputed championship that we're seeing now. Like we're seeing again, junior welterweight. We're talking about it as super middleweight, 168. We're seeing it again in heavyweight. So that was the thing. So the WBC on the fly said, hey, we're going to create this franchise champion so that he still has his belt and we can still have this. But what was explained was bad communication because I literally thought, I shouldn't say thought, what was given to the public was that here's this franchise champion. You are designated this champion, in a sense, like a champion in recess. It was like described. You get a belt, but then the interim champion is then upgraded to a regular champion, and he fights the guys as the WBC champion. The franchise champion can go ahead and fight for the regular champion whenever he wanted to. That was the way it was described from WBC. Now, if we're believing with Lopez, and it's got to be true because he has two certifications now. It's not that you get a belt and this is your authentic certification that shows you're the champion. So he has the franchise certification as well as the regular certification. So the way the WBC is bringing this down is that we can elevate you to be the franchise champion in the same way that the WBA uses their super champion. So the WBC is now following I don't know. They're following them.
I wouldn't say following, but let's just say
it's a mirrored look where that you have a super champion, a regular. Well, they have a franchise champion now. They had a diamond champion. You got a regular champion. You got an interim champion, and I think there's one more for WBC. So, but basically, the franchise champion is not for, unlike the WBA. The franchise champion is not for everybody. So, if you're multiple belt holder, they can designate you the franchise champion so that you don't lose that belt so that they can have more unification. So it's a way for WBC to make money because you have this guy with a belt, you pay a sanctioning fee. Devin Haney has a belt, he pays the sanctioning fee. So it's a way to it's an opportunity.
It's a way for the sanctioning bodies to continue making some revenue off.
And that was a long-winded how I said that, but everybody's confused on this because on ESPN was touting that this was the undisputed championship between Lopez and Lomachenko. You had other major top guys saying this is not the undisputed because Haney's the champion. So we all thought that when the WBC took the belt and gave Lomachenko the franchise champion, we all thought this was like a champion in recess. When in actuality, it's a champion who doesn't have to fight all the time.
Exactly.
That's what it is at the end of the day.
It was a way for him to avoid doing the mandatory.
Yeah, and it's a double-edged sword. The WBC got out of their own way to do, now that we know, I wish they'd have communicated better. They got out of their own way to have a true unification by their own rules now, by saying that Lomachenko was still the champion and Haney was this lower champion. You know what I'm saying? In a sense, or an interim or regular or whatever designation you have. And Teofimo now is showing that he is the guy that has all the belts. So if this is true, and this is the WBC's new rules now, I have to fall back because of new information and say that Teofimo Lopez is the undisputed 135 lightweight champion of the world.
Yeah. So with that said, Devin, you're in a tough spot,
my
friend.
Oh boy! Now that we got the news, Devin Haney.
Devin, you're in a very tough spot. I at this point, you need to be doing your job as a fighter to push as hard as you have to essentially get that fight with Lopez. And at this point, you almost
I don't see it happening right now.
I think at this point,
Aram is really saying that because he said there's no money in him. Because the problem with Haney, as good as a young fighter is, and I put him over any of the young fighters, it's 50-50 on any of them. I say that I'm not even, I mean, Teofimo will be the betting favorite. I'm saying the 50-50 fight. He has that kind of skills. I make him the favorite against Garcia. I make it 50-50 against Tank because of Tank's power. The problem is, Jorge, he's on the zone. People got to pay for the zone on an app. So no one knows how great this young fighter is. We see Teofimo because he's on what? ESPN. And if you have TV, everybody has ESPN.
Yeah, no, this is one of those, but before you make that point, here's what I was going to say.
Oh, sorry.
I think basically Devin needs to find some way through his promotional company to just somehow make the fight happen, even if it means taking a little bit off. Right, I mean, money wise and stuff. From the business point of view, I don't care how you make that happen. I think at this point, Teofimo's undisputed champion. He's A side until someone beats him, and at this point, the
WBC makes him make the fight where they're saying, okay, you're the franchise champion, and we'll strip that since you got all the belts and there's no one left and it's your time.
Basically, Haney's only got two choices.
But I don't even know that it applies for the franchise champion.
I think Haney's only got two choices. Either, to me, you relinquish this garbage belt that you now have been officially told through the certification of authenticity from Lopez that your belt's garbage.
You're an interim champion.
So basically,
you're just my mandatory when it's ready.
Exactly. So at this point, do what a mandatory is supposed to do and push for that fight and take the lesser money, whether you like it or not, and shut the hell up about it, or relinquish that dumb belt that isn't going to be doing you any favors except paying the sanctioning fee.
Or just fight a whole bunch of guys and build your name up to the fight actually has to happen. Like we talked about before, you got to fight to get your name out there. Yeah. And he's on the zone, so he needs to start fighting guys that the zone is pumping up.
Exactly. So I mean, at this point, if you're, all Haney's been doing lately, he's been angling for the bigger fight. And granted, you're supposed to and stuff.
Yeah, as soon as you get that belt, you want to market that because you have something to use as equity.
So, but at this point, if you're not willing to, because of egotistical reasons, right? Pride or what matter, and you're trying to make you believe that yourself believe that you are, good B money side, right? Or A minus side money. You're not, and it sucks. So I would say if I'm Devin Haney, if you're listening, take less, take a lot less, do whatever you have to do. Because at the end of the day, you need the fight with Lopez, who's definitely the A side. He's the undisputed champ at that weight. Fight him. Just lower your requirements and be realistic about where you're at.
I'm glad you brought that up. I hate to count pocketbooks, but one thing that Haney's even said is that for the pay scale that he's been paid, especially at the zone with Eddie Hearn, who basically had a blank checkbook up until like 5-6 months ago, he's been overpaid. He's made more than any of the guys at 135.
No,
except for maybe Tank Davis, because I don't know how much he made on that pay-per-view because it was so successful when it did 300 pay-per-view buys.
Sure.
So that's on a whole nother pay scale when you're on pay-per-view and you're doing those numbers.
Sure.
But take away that one fight, Devin Haney, he was on the zone and he's being overpaid. So I hate to say like take less, but if you're taking less, you're probably still making more than everybody else.
Exactly.
Because you've been overpaid. You've been, the zone oversaturated with all these fighters. And now COVID comes and then they ain't seen no return. So let's say if David Haney's making 2 or 3 million, give or take, on certain fights, I know it's a high 6 figures. If you just scale that back, you still making more than everybody else. But at the same time, though, how are we to tell somebody when you're used to making a certain amount of money, hey, take a pay cut? Hey, for the greater good, I understand that, but it's hard to tell somebody that if someone told you that, be like, man, get your hand out my pocket.
And Devin, I'm not even trying to get in your pockets. I'm just saying, from a realistic point of view of what's going on. And here's the thing. All the evidence is on the table, so it's not like there's any evidence that can support any type of logic that you can come up with where you think you deserve to get paid a certain amount of money. Whatever they paid you, and God bless you, man. I'm glad you got it. Mm-hmm. But if you're right now what we would call, you're in boxing hell. Yeah. I would call it boxing hell, where you are basically not watched enough to show how talented you are, overpaid enough where you think you've got an inflated value of who you think you are, and basically a fighter who is the undisputed champion who's basically telling you with all the evidence in hand, you're not.
And like I said earlier, if this franchise champion is what I think it is, Lopez don't have to fight him, because the WBC made it seem like, even before this clarification, that the franchise champion did not have to fight that guy until he was ready to fight him. It allows this guy, who's a multiple belt holder, to go after all the other belts while they collect that sanctioning fee, while this guy here has this other belt here and collecting his fee while he's fighting everybody else under the top 10 banner, top 15 banner. Yeah. So if you're Lopez right now, and he's been doing a lot of talking, and he's been putting himself out there, he's like, I don't need to fight Haney. I want to fight these guys here, and I'm gonna go to 140.
Yeah, and right now, because the Davis injury, puts a wreck to that. I think Teofimo comes out with this information, not to just poke a jab at Haney. I think he's basically telling Haney, look, to me, I think I won't be surprised if there are some conversations, very small ones, nothing big, nothing major, nothing that will send a ripple effect throughout the boxing world that, hey, something's going to happen and stuff. But I would say that maybe they're having some conversations and stuff of a potential fight this year, because the year started and you want to get some fights lined up, some dates lined up and stuff. Mm-hmm. Right? So say that all that is true. Teofimo's basically telling you, with this certificate of authenticity, you are going to have a gut check, a reality check, and an ego check to say, hey, what do I got to do here to get out of boxing hell? And that means he's basically saying, I have all the leverage. Mm-hmm. I have it 100%. You win, not going to get 50-50 from me.
Oh, no.
Start talking even lower than 40. You're definitely even getting 60-40 at this point.
I would see it's
like 80-20 at this point.
Well, I could see Eddie Hearn doing,
and
maybe it'll be two separate promoters, so you have like that. I can see Eddie Hearn paying him a certain amount, but then the revenue, like you said, like he may keep it where that, okay, I might have to pay you like $2 million. But from the revenue cut, like you're saying, it might be 70-30 in Teofimo's Lopez. Like, you're going to get your flat fee, but everything else in the back end, when we splitting this, you ain't getting that cut.
Exactly. And you know how I feel about talking about money and boxing. Yeah. I'm not a fan of it whatsoever. But at this point, for Haney, I feel bad for you, buddy. But I think you're going to end up having to take this fight and taking it at Fimo's price, not your price.
Taking it. I think the earliest thing we might see no fights like either when he leaves the zone, he got to leave because I don't see that fight happening, or they go to 140, and eventually then like there's no way that they have to fight each other because they're both undefeated and there's too much there. But right now 135 right now, and no one knows who he is. As much as it'll be a good fight, there's no point in Lopez doing it because he don't see no upside in it right now, especially when you're about your money and you got to split that with the zone. When it's like, you know what though, and you ain't fought nobody yet, even though we know you're good and you got the goods, it's like, nah, we need you to fight some people and get on regular TV, and then we can make this bread.
So we'll move into the next subject. I think we're pretty much gonna wrap up. But just the last point on that, on what you said there, I hear the part you're saying about the expiration of the contracts and stuff. There's a reason Lopez puts that out there when he says that Haney. And like I said, I think it was just more than a jab. I think he's I would not be surprised if had very minimal talks, and basically Teofimo just saying, look, I got 100% leverage. Quit playing games with me. Here we go. Here's the certificate. And we'll keep talking from there. And that's it.
And at the same time, too, it's good talk, because if you do fight Haney down the line, this is how you build a fight.
Yeah.
Like, he wants it, but it's not going to happen right now. But if you're Lopez, like, yeah, I can see a fight of him. So how do I build this? Build a little bit of animosity. It's like, yo, you don't deserve this fight anyway right now. So right now, the building blocks are there for our future fight. It's not happening now. I think the earliest is going to be 140. You know what I'm saying? If we're lucky, it's going to happen at 140. I literally don't see the fight to 147 because the fact he's on the zone and no one knows who he is. It's one thing if he was a known commodity.
Sure.
We know him. If we leave and go out the streets and ask people who Devin Haney, no one knows.
No one knows who he is.
So the fact that no one knows him, it's like saying he's 0-0 right now.
Yep. He's in boxing hell. He's
Yeah.
definitely in boxing hell right now, and it sucks. It sucks for the man.
So on that note, we're gonna end this off here, man. Sorry, Devin Haney, like you, but your pocketbook looks nice, but Eddie Hearn gonna do a little bit more for you. But we're gonna end this off here. So thanks everybody for checking in here for Boxing Now podcast. As always, click on like and subscribe and click on the notification bell so you get the alerts for the new episodes that come on. Once again, click on follow for Spotify so that you can get that on coming on there as well as on the Zingo app channel 250. Click on the heart so you see our episodes come on. We rotate on there every day basically for the channel rotation. Also for myself, I am live Wednesdays 8 p.m. on YouTube. The show is called Jump Off Live. Jorge, what you got?
Sure. So you can catch me at live_dominoes. It's my Twitch TV channel. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Central. This past Saturday, we had our first domino cutthroat tournament. So that was a nice 4.5 hour stream of, I won't say mayhem, but it was our first attempt at a tournament that was every man for themselves. And it's definitely played a lot differently than when you play with a partner. So catch that out on Twitch TV, live_dominoes. That's the TV channel.
All right. So
one more thing I wanted to mention now that you kind of teased it a little bit before we hang off. We were being played on a cable network there, my friend.
Oh, yes. So before I forget here, I want to send a shout out to our people in California here. So give me 1 second here while I pull it up here as we end the show here. So we were playing on KBFX Fox 58 in Bakersfield and also KFRE Fox 59 in Fresno. So shout out to the Fox affiliates. Once again, that's KBFX on Fox 58 in Bakersfield and KFRE on Fox 59 in Fresno. So shout out to the Fox affiliates out there who play Box Now podcast. We hope to be on there more times as well.
No, I appreciate the love from Fox. That's, believe me, caught us by surprise when we talked about it, but I'm very happy that we're making strides there. So that you guys are watching us. So big shout out to Fox. Thank you again for all the viewers that caught us. Do catch us hopefully on repeat shows down the road if they decide to put us back out there.
All right. On that note, I have my man Jorge here. I'm that dude named Dave. And for the Boxing
Think
Out,
you're not that new Dave.
Yeah. For the BNP Boxing Out podcast, we are out of here to the next episode. Take care, people.
Take care, folks. Thank you.